The automatic doors slid open with a hiss, but the sound was drowned out by the heavy thud of boots striking the gleaming hospital floor. Nurses stopped mid-stride. A doctor dropped a clipboard. Conversations died instantly as every eye locked onto the massive figure stepping into the fluorescent light. His leather vest was torn at the shoulder, streaked with dirt and blood, and the ink snaking across his arms made him look like he'd stepped out of a nightmare. But it wasn't the tattoos or the reputation that froze the room. It was the small, limp body cradled against his chest, his arms trembling as if he were holding the world itself. If you believe in kindness, redemption, and the power of second chances, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring stories like this to life. He stood there, panting, sweat mixing with the dust on his forehead. The little girl's hair spilled over his arm, matted with dirt, and her small fingers were curled inward, unmoving. A smear of dried blood streaked her pink shirt. For a moment the hospital felt suspended in time, every heartbeat echoing like a drum. No one knew what to think. Everyone recognized him not by name, but by reputation. He was the leader of the Iron Wolves, a biker group people whispered about when engines roared through the night. But here he was, wide-eyed and desperate, with fear drowning out the usual fire in his expression. He shifted his stance, clearing his throat, as if forcing his voice through gravel. The staff snapped back to reality. A doctor rushed forward, followed by nurses pushing a rolling bed. The biker gently laid the young girl down, his hands trembling as they slipped away from her body. For a moment he hovered, unsure if he should stay, unsure if his presence alone would cause trouble. The nurses whisked the child toward the emergency room, and he stood rooted in place, staring after her as if she were his only anchor in the world. Minutes earlier he had been tearing down an old dirt road when he spotted a crumpled bicycle off to the side. His instinct screamed to keep riding, to mind his own business, to stay out of the world that never wanted him. But something, maybe the faintest flicker of conscience, maybe the memory of someone he failed long ago, forced him to stop. He found the girl in a shallow ditch, breathing shallowly, eyes barely open. She whispered that she couldn't feel her arm. Without hesitation, he scooped her up, revved his engine, and rode faster than he had ever ridden in his life. Now, standing in the hospital corridor beneath unforgiving fluorescent lights, he felt exposed like the world could finally see that beneath the leather and steel, there was a man carrying years of regrets. He sank into a plastic chair, elbows on his knees, hands clasped tightly enough that his knuckles turned pale. The waiting room buzzed with soft murmurs as people stole glances at him. Some looked afraid, some curious, some judgmental, but he barely noticed. His ears were filled with the sound of the girl's weak breathing replaying in his mind. Time crawled, stretching unbearably thin. Every time he heard the squeak of shoes or the rustle of lab coats, he snapped his head up, hoping for news. His mind drifted in painful circles. He remembered being called a monster, a lost cause, an animal who rode with criminals and chaos. Somewhere along the line, pieces of those accusations stuck to him until he started believing them himself. But when he found that little girl on the empty road, something cracked open. For once, he couldn't ride away from someone else's suffering. Maybe because he knew exactly what it felt like to be left behind. As he sat there, he thought about his younger sister, the one he couldn't save years ago. She had been sick, and he was too caught up in fights, trouble, and pride to notice how bad it had gotten. By the time he returned home, it was too late. That guilt became the fuel that drove his rebellion, his anger, his descent into the biker world. But the moment he lifted that little girl into his arms, all the years of rage felt meaningless. He just wanted one chance, one moment to do something right. When the doctor finally emerged, the biker stood instantly, towering over everyone but trembling like a child. The doctor looked up at him, cautious but calm. He explained that the girl had suffered a deep cut and a fracture but would recover fully. Relief washed over the biker like a tidal wave. His knees nearly buckled. The doctor added that the girl had been asking about the nice man with the loud motorcycle, and that she wanted to thank him when she woke properly. Something unfamiliar stung behind his eyes, a feeling he had long forgotten how to process. Gratitude, relief, maybe even hope. He exhaled shakily and nodded, unable to speak. The doctor placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, surprising him. It wasn't judgment or fear, just quiet appreciation. "You saved her life," the doctor said softly, and the words hit harder than any punch he had ever taken. Over the next few hours, the biker remained at the hospital, sitting outside her room, watching through the glass as she slept. Nurses brought him water, even a blanket, when they noticed he hadn't moved. Their fear slowly faded, replaced by understanding. They saw not a gang leader, but a man trying, perhaps for the first time in years, to be better. When the girl finally stirred awake, her small voice floated through the doorway, asking if her motorcycle friend was still there. He stepped inside hesitantly, feeling completely out of place among the machines and soft pastel walls. She smiled weakly and thanked him. It was a simple moment, but for him it felt like redemption, a single, fragile thread stitching together the torn fabric of his past. From that day forward, things changed. Members of his gang noticed he spent less time causing trouble and more time fixing bikes for neighbors, helping at community events, even volunteering for charity rides. People who once crossed the street to avoid him began greeting him. He wasn't trying to erase his past, just rewrite what he could of his future. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe for more inspiring stories that remind us of the good still left in the world. Before we end, tell us in the comments, do you believe people can truly change? And with that, the biker walked out of the hospital that night, not as the leader of a feared gang, but as a man who had finally found the road back to himself.